being Chisom. Hey, welcome to the stream, guys. Welcome. Okay, so you must have seen the advert. You must have been here yesterday or not, right? But everything you've heard about is true. Because I ran away from home at 27 and it changed everything about the course of my life, especially when it comes to my enterprise, my personality. Actually, I will not deny that. Today, I'm going to start from where I stopped yesterday. How I moved to the big city to seek for my dream life, to seek for my dream wealth, to dream, what am I saying? To seek for my dream money, right? Everything seekable. I went to a big city to seek. If you were here yesterday, you would have seen that I went to Lagos for the wedding. Yes, it went well. A few days after, I went to my cousins in Lagos, right? And then 2 weeks after, it was obvious we had to leave. I and my sister, right? So we finally got this relative, like I told you, who said, okay, come over to Abuja because I had a promise of a job, right? So we got to Abuja. Midnight, not really midnight, around about 10 p.m. of that day, still in that September of 2007, because I remember that we stayed only 2 weeks, and all of this happened in the first week of September, and we stayed at my cousin's for 2 weeks. So by the end of the month was when the Abuja move was happening, in the same month. Okay, now that's where I'm going to start off, and I'm going to be telling you a whole lot in this stream. I need you to relax. I need you to breathe. I need you to just find something comfortable, somewhere comfortable, just relax. I'm going to be telling it as it is, and I'm going to be pointing out most of the milestones I think that has helped me to build this multi-million naira industry, multi-million naira business, even as a young person at that time who had no business skill whatsoever, right? If you want to hear, please, this is a good time to thumbs up. If you already like what you're seeing, or you see my face, you love my face, you think this will be fun, hit the like button. So we are having a like button break, and also subscribe. Part of the reasons why you need to subscribe is that, see, if you don't subscribe, you'll be missing out on a lot. And the most important, even after you subscribe, is to hit the bell button so that every notification from this channel, you will get it. Okay, please drop a comment right now and let me know you are here so that I can give you a shout out also. That's how we roll right here. Okay, so drop a comment. Let me know you're here so that, and if you don't drop a comment, I won't be able to see your name. So I will just assume that I'm just seeing numbers, and you don't want to be just the masses. You don't want to just be numbers. You don't want to, for me to go back to my team and we are saying, oh, we had so number of people on the stream and you had no name. Remember, I will acknowledge you. I will shout you out if you drop a comment. And all through the course of this story, because this is a business story session, feel free to ask me questions, because that's how this goes. Ask me questions and I'll be answering them as we go. All right, now with that said, let's go straight into the story of how I landed in Abuja. If you're not Nigerian, you may not be able to understand what I mean by Abuja and all that. I left Aba to Lagos, then Lagos to Abuja. All these cities are in Nigeria. But Aba is a much smaller but very popularly commercial city, and it has all the vibes, right? But if you are seeking a media job, a tech job in that sense, places like that are not the best places. As at that time, were not the best places to live or to try to get a job, right? So I had to make that move. And if you were here yesterday, you would have known all the reasons why I had to run away from home. I had to be prodigal. I had to take my life in my hands, literally. So today I'm going to take you through the journey of living in a big city in Abuja, Nigeria's capital, for 12 years. And see, I'm going to give you all of the important things in these 12 years. So I want you to relax. So good. We got into, remember to give a thumbs up, subscribe, put on the bell button, and then relax and drop comments as it comes to your mind as I speak. Drop a comment, ask me questions. Thank you for being on the live, Akah Utibe. Yeah, my husband is on the stream. Okay, so let me know if you could get in here as well. Let me give you an honorable mention, okay? Now, this media job I was promised by my family friend, I mentioned from yesterday, was a small, what I call a small boutique company, very small boutique company. Before this time, because I had worked in a multinational, even though it was as a security guard. I saw a structured place. Remember, I said one of the reasons I left home was because I wanted the corporate culture and all that. So coming to this media job, it wasn't, first of all, it hit me like, oh, it's not exactly what I was thinking. Because first of all, this organization did not have an office. Yes. We didn't have like a place we go to and we resume there, clean up, sit down, wait for clients. We didn't have that. And my boss is such a courageous, outspoken, amazing, charismatic person. And so it was my first shock. I was like, oh, really? So what we did was we are more like a mobile media company, because I remember that they would come pick up all the staff. Then the staff, when they get into town, because where I was putting up was in, we say zone 4, right? And we didn't really know the town per se. I am a sister at that time, and I didn't even know how far where they were coming from. Most of them were coming from out of town, airport road area. So they will come and then they'll come to town. Sorry about that. They will come to town and pick me, right? So they will always come, then they pick me, then they give me the agenda for the day. Usually it was always to go see or have meetings with people. Sometimes we have our meetings in hotel lobbies. Sometimes we have our meetings in hotel lobbies, sometimes in parks, and he afforded me the opportunity to see Abuja. Like, it was so, it is so amazing. Like, coming from where I was coming from a city that didn't really have those kind of aesthetically pleasing places you can go hang out. So that was something I began to love about Abuja. I was like, oh my God. So the media job took us around a lot. So I knew all of the corporate companies early, Glow Communications, Transcorp Hilton, Sheraton Hotel. I was in my feelings. I was so excited. I didn't mind that the first shock that we didn't have an office gave me. I didn't mind at all. We'll go tour, we'll drop proposals, we get to some business centers, do proposals if we need to. And then I was employed as a media assistant and a quality assurance staff. Now, quality assurance just meant editing. Everything that was marketing forward, like facing forward, proposals, company profile, anything that other people have to read, I have to proofread before it goes out. That was the quality assurance I was doing. And for me, it was my comfort zone. It was something I've always done back in university. I am still a voracious reader, so it wasn't a problem at all. I was enjoying myself. But that joy soon got truncated in just 2 weeks, because we were asked to leave in this place we thought we had come. We had found a place. God has provided a place for us. And I remember that day, it was so abrupt that our load was put out at the door and we were asked to leave. Yes, forget the fact that I told you that this person was our relative in that sense, but it happened. I and my sister became homeless. And if I'll be truthful to you, I did not fidget at all. I didn't feel anxious. I knew that even though it was like that morning, we were not sure where we were going to sleep that night. All I did was go to a phone booth. Those were the days of phone booths. You could go make phone call for 1 minute and all that. I had to go for a phone booth, call my dad, and say, Daddy, I'm putting your daughter in a bus to be back home tonight, but I'll be fine. And the man is like, how? What? Meanwhile, when I had told my dad from Lagos to Abuja, we had spoken, and he had said, are you sure you know what you're doing? Blah, blah, blah. And I told him that this relative asked us to come to stay in his place, even though he was out of the country. My father felt a bit secure, a bit more, okay, fine. Since he's somebody he knew, right? But when this happened just 2 weeks, he didn't know what to think, but he just felt, well, it's part of the things that you get when you leave home and you're not sure who you're going to be with. I sent my sister back to Aba, and I said I'll be fine. My father said, are you sure? I said, yes. So you see, I was not so much of a prodigal, right? I was still communicating with my dad, okay? Even though he wasn't happy, he made it clear he wasn't happy that I left and all that. I was making him feel like he couldn't take care of me. He didn't know what he was doing. I said, Daddy, don't worry. So all I did after I made the call, was to go to the park, put my sister in the bus. She started going home. Thankfully, she was also a graduate at that time, so she went back home and all that. So I called my boss, my media boss. In fact, they were to come that morning as usual to pick me. Then we begin our job. So I waited for them outside, standing, and they got there. But they were surprised, like, why are you carrying your bags this time? What happened? I narrated all of the story to them, and they were like, oh my God, don't worry, come into the car. He came with two of his staff. I still remember them, young men. So they put my things in the car, and we went to our normal jobs. Yes, we went to another job. But they were beginning to orientate me at that time that, where we are going to after work was not anything like where I'm coming from, because they knew I was new in town, and that was my first place of abode, and it was a cosmopolitan, is a happening part of town, more like a red light district, because that was also where we had all the call girls standing out at night. I mean, it was such a vibey place, even though I didn't used to go out at night, but of course. So they felt, okay, you have seen Abuja in this light. Where we were taking you to after work is like opposite of this light. So I didn't understand, but I felt okay. I mean, as long as I have a place to put my head, I don't mind, right? I was more like a sojourner, if you ask me. Like, I'll point out that something that is very important is that, maintaining relationships is very important, guys. So after work, they drove me. Incidentally, all three of them, there was another lady. After everything, I discovered that we were a team of 5. So there was a lady in the team, then 2 guys, which were call staff. So we were like 2 ladies and 2 men. But the lady was married, so she was not always constant. So they took me. African Tales and Beat is here. Welcome. So they took me after work, they took me to this stretch of town, and we were driving. It seemed like we were traveling, and I'm like, where are we going? Where are we going? So imagine driving from like a zone 4 or all of those places in Abuja, driving to Airport Road. But that time it felt like, am I still in Abuja? Why are we driving out of town? I didn't understand. But of course, I didn't have a choice. Like, I didn't have a house. I didn't have nobody, So I followed them, and they drove me my boss drove me to his house, dropped off all the other stuff on the way. We got to his house. His wife was already waiting for us. Gave us a nice meal. They really embraced me, and we are very, very cool. And that was it. So that night, they accommodated me and made me feel very welcomed and all that. The next morning, I had to find a place to stay. Now, they were like, from their house, there was no way I was going to continue staying with them because it was very small. There were a lot of people. The family members were already like equal to the rooms in the house. How would I put it? So they had to start making calls to get church members who could help them accommodate me. And that began my journey of squatting in Abuja. This journey of squatting in Abuja took me from that 2007 till, okay, I'll get there. But at this point, I was still all stuck up on work. By December of that year, we hadn't been paid a dime. So I had worked October, November, December. And I saw practically that this company hadn't really made money. We were actually at that time packaging to have a reality TV show, a kind of Christian reality TV show. And we were going for sponsors and all that. I remember that was the first time I realized that corporate organizations, you really don't like to lean into things that are religious in that sense. Anything that will look like you're favoring one party to the other, right? Were not something that they love to do. So they kept telling us, no, it might not work and all that. So we were always in and out of boardrooms, making presentation, and we were always getting no. So yes, I saw that this company was not making money. And my boss was very gracious. His wife, they all helped me. They finally helped me get a single lady who was also a member of their church, who one day just came, one of those evenings that we came back from church. Usually when we come back from work, they will call up somebody who will accommodate me. So I remember I stayed with 2 different people at different times. Then this lady came one day visiting, and they told her, oh, we have a visitor, she needs a place to stay and all that. And she's like, she said if I won't mind joining her to the kind of place she lives, then not a problem. First of all, when I got here, I was first of all shocked because that was my first time in a real slum. Not a joke. It was my first time in a real slum. And the real slum where the house is made of mud. Inside was a bit more decorated because the girl was also like a working class. If you know anything about Abuja, I mean, with all your working class in that sense, you may not be able to afford rent. right? So those part of town had more like affordable housing. So that was what we were doing, and I was so gracious. It was so exciting for me at the same time. I had never experienced that kind of thing in my life, but for me it was an adventure. I was just like, man, those kind of places where we used to back outside, just demarcated with zinc, and then you put your towel so that somebody knows that somebody is having their bath. You stand on a stone, keep your bucket on a stone, picture it. That was where I did for 13 months. Yes, guys. Yes. So anyway, that December when this was happening, and I realized that, oh my God, I don't even have any money to go anywhere. I was already tagging along with my boss anywhere he was going. I started even attending their church. Incidentally, like I told you, the lady I was living with at that time was also a member of their church. So I started attending their church, everything. I was just tagging along with this family, and they were so gracious, and they are still so gracious to me. And yeah, by January of 2008, I had already okay, something significant happened. That December, when I was just thinking, I was thinking I'll be able to go home to at least show myself to my parents, like, I'm okay, see me now, I'm okay. I didn't have the time. I couldn't even buy anything for myself. I was in this lady's house. And then I belonged to an online forum that I will never forget. An online forum that was existing at that time. It was part of Nairaland, forums per se. So we always used to communicate at that time. Incidentally, I was now in that group, and they started saying, oh, those in Abuja, we are going to meet. You know how forums get excited. Some people in some location, they make it even more active. They wanted to take the forum offline and all that. So they announced that people in Abuja were going to meet at a park, and everybody should come, blah blah blah. And I was like, thank God I'm in Abuja now, even though I've been part of this forum for like months before then. So I had to go for that meeting. I remember it was in December after Christmas, about 26th or so. We had like a mini picnic. I met for the first time outside my work colleagues. I met new people, business executive in that meeting. I remember we had a picnic. It was a round kind of thing. We danced, we spoke, talked about the community and all that. And right there at the job, I remember the guy who was like the Abuja rep of that forum, who convened that meeting, was like, okay, for anybody who will be interested, my company is employing contract staff, by January. In case you're interested, it's a data entry job. If you don't mind, it's a contract job. I was like, oh my God, I'm interested. The guy told us the company's address and all that, how to get there. And I was like, oh my God, thank God. So I think it was 2nd of January, and I met other people, we were interviewed and asked to resume job on the 4th. That 4th was, I think, a Monday, right? So this second was like a Saturday, it was a weekend. I remember I went to that company. It was in central area, the buzzing part of the corporate life in Abuja. And I was so excited that finally I got a job in a real company, like a real company, where you have to wear, corporate, you have to wear hilly shoes, you have to have the light and the what they call that, the glass demarcations kind of thing. You have the receptionist, you have your desk, you have your own personal computer, that kind of thing. And I was like, oh my God, my dream come true. I was still living with this lady, and she also was working. So in the morning we'll go out, and I started working. And so I was also still because I was still dependent on my boss, sort of. So they were also looking out for me, helping me. Then around that time, my boss finally got an office. Yeah, so he told me they've gotten an office and all that. So I now became like an ad hoc staff. So weekends or anytime I have time, I'll go to his office, help them do stuff. They soon got into magazine publication, and I became the main proofreader and editor. And I was still working this job. This job was in the financial industry, and trust me, one thing I would say that happened to me was my mind expanded. I began to see life much more than just me, myself. So I began to understand things about finance, how money works, securities, by securities, shares, loans, how all those things work. And we were mandated to also have some security. So we were there was a company where the company had some policies where you have to, from your salary, buy some security, whether it's a share or something, they will buy on your behalf. So they were out to also empower their staff, and I was taking notes. I was learning, and I was like, this was a good experience. But we were contract staff. We were about 6 of us that were employed at that time. Our job was to key in data from physical forms to online platforms, and you are rated by how many forms you're able to key in by the end of the day. We had the head of operations in charge of our section. The company also had head of marketing, head of compliance, head of ICT, head of which other company there, which other department down, head of admin and HR, I think. Yeah. So that was my very first experience being part of an organization that organized, and it was everything for me until I had to leave. Now, before I had to leave, I did data entry for like 6 months. My bosses loved me. They felt, okay, this girl was brilliant, intelligent, we could use her for other things. Now, there was a statutory department that the regulatory body of that financial institution needed to start off, which was risk management. And my CEO, asked them to draft me to be the first staff in risk management. I was to go research about the risk appetite for my company, set up this, all of that. So I started in a new department, moved to a new computer, began answering to a new boss who was now the head of compliance. Amazing. It was like, gee, girl, you're having fun. This was 2008, pardon me. Okay, so I was doing that. After I resumed as a risk management officer, I discovered that I was having certain interest from certain places that I don't want to go into that, except you ask me questions, all right? So I was having certain interest in certain places that was making it look like I was favored amongst other contract staff. I remember our salary was about 28,500, and I was getting promises to get paid higher. I was made offers. I'll be called at certain times to come meet my CEO. My CEO was a good man, but he had interest in me, and I felt this environment is getting choking because it was against my value system. At that time, girl, I was not the girl that you can play with when it comes to, man-woman relationship. And not even for a married man. The man even had 2 wives. So I felt, I think, again, I left there for 3 reasons. One, I said, this man had interest in me. He's making it obvious that he has an eye on me. And my former boss, who was the head of my head of operations, I think, was noticing that, how would the CEO always refer to you? Do you understand? CEO always calls the heads for meetings. But when a CEO will go beyond and start calling the contract staff, all the time, he'll come to my office, he will promise me, tell me about himself, tell me how he made money, how he sees that I can make money, how I should get to him for anything I need, if I need a car, if I need this. Good offer, right? Somebody said good offer, right? But girl, in my mind space at that time and right now, I was not that kind of girl. So, that happened. And the second reason why I decided to leave was, first of all, the financial institution. Remember, I had my eye on media, and I felt this wasn't a career path I was willing to grow the ladder on. And I felt so the earlier I get out, the better for me. Third reason, I already started getting interested in entrepreneurship. I had a friend of mine who was actually my classmate back in the university. We were in contact. She had started her company at about that year, and the company was into, guess what? Gift packaging and delivery, gift surprises and all that. And sometimes when she's around my office side and she's going to make a delivery in a bank or something, she'll call me up, and during my break time, I will join her to deliver. And I was like, oh my God, this feels so interesting, doing your own thing. She told me how she got a car because somebody loved what she was doing and gifted she and her husband a car to enable her gift for her moving around. I was like, I like entrepreneurship. I love it. Now, backstory. That relative that sent us out of his house, when we were in his house in those 2 weeks, he came back from the US because he sent out of his house 2 days after he came back or so. So let's say in the first 1 week, 2 weeks, he came back and he was asking me that, why am I doing this media job that is not really paying me? I'm not sure of the terms. There were no agreements and all that. I said, I'm just excited about it. He thought I was a fool. In fact, he told me that I wasn't smart, that I could easily have started my business. I'm in Abuja. I should have started a business, no matter how small. Remember, I wasn't in this mind frame. Maybe if it was me now, even if it was to sell puff, something, I would have done it. But I had never done business before that time. I had never understood how it works, how people own companies and all that. He told me that he could easily have given me 5 million naira at that time to start a business. He even showed me ladies who he has helped that month to start up their business, and how I was fixated on asking him to get me a bank job and all that and all that. So that was before he settled out of his house. Okay, so fast forward now to back to why I left this financial institution. I left and I said, okay, let me join my friend. My friend was already touting me and telling me, oh, you can come join me. We can do this together. I can pay you 40K. They're paying you 8K a year. You can, and I felt this was better. Once again, I told you I was a positive rebel. I like excitement. I like new things. And I am always a good starter, right? And this was me discovering myself at this point. If you're at this point, you need to hit the like button. If you haven't, subscribe if you're enjoying this story. And please come with me to the end of this video. This is not the video you watch halfway and go. Stay with me and watch, and you're going to get all of the scoop, how I got to becoming the Chisom that owns this multi-million naira industry. What do I keep saying industry? Multi-million naira company called Logos Audibles, who does publishing and all that. And in case you didn't know, we are your plug to writing and publishing and marketing your books. If you're ready for that anywhere in the world, we can work with you, especially if you don't have time, you don't have the mind space to write, but you're ready to get your books published. No matter how many titles you want to publish, you can get them done in 4 months. We'll help you write. We'll get your content from you. Sit down with you at your convenience, get your content, write, edit, design, print, market. Yes. If you're interested, let me know in this stream as well, and I'll be dropping our email address also, so that you can send us an email so that we can reach out to you. All right. So I resigned in February of 2009 and joined my friend to do her gift packaging business. Yes. And that became my first trigger, because I was thinking, if I never took the media job initially, I wouldn't have known how to cash into opportunities when I sell them with a financial institution. I would have also known how to pivot, how to tell what I loved and what I didn't love, right? Things came to test my value system and all that. I remember when I got to Abuja, one of the things that hit me also was the culture, the people, and being a young girl of 28 at that time, I was already like, okay, so I can meet Mr. Right, but I never found anybody willing to toast me at that time. Anyway, while I was in that contract job, another thing I need to mention is that I got 2 marriage proposals that year. One person was from an old friend back in school, in the university. Another one was from somebody I barely met. I met once in a conference, in an IFS conference years before. And then we started chatting on Yahoo Messenger, and then he proposed to me all online. We were talking, and then he proposed to me. He wasn't in Abuja at that time. And finally, I was able to stop squatting with the lady, and I got my own first apartment in that same time when I was working that contract job. I remember that the company asked me to take a salary advance, or something like a loan, sort of. Yeah, a salary, they removed the money from my salary. I don't know what that arrangement is called, right? So I was able to get an apartment. It was a very affordable apartment, because it was in a part of town where government wasn't ready. It was a government reserved area that wasn't in development. You know how people go and start building in places, and then when it will be demolished, they know you have an understanding that one day it will be demolished, right? Those are those kind of places. And I got an apartment and moved in. A cousin of mine got a job in Abuja at that time and joined me and was living with me and was going to work. Yeah, so when I had to leave the company, I had to go back to pay them back the outstanding, because I hadn't finished paying for the loan before I left. So you see how crazy I can be, right? I mean, you have a job that even helped you get an apartment, but you leave it for something that you're not sure will be regular, and you're also owing the company. Anyway, so that became my very first paid accommodation. I left that job in 2009 and joined my friend. The company was in Jabi in Abuja. I'm just mentioning the places for those who may know the places, okay? But that job was so fun as it lasted, but I left again after 4 months. I had to leave her because I didn't see any future. We were having some disagreements, and it was very informal. It looked like see finish, wanted to enter, that kind of, when friends do business, actually when friends are not agreed on, we don't have stipulated agreement about this is how we want to run it. So I left, middle of 2008, or rather 2009, and then I began freelancing. I went back to my former boss's office where he had now had started helping him again with his magazine. I wasn't getting paid, or rather, I was giving commissions when there was jobs. Then I told him one day, I said, since I don't have like a regular salary, can I also market my business on my own and get my own clients? He was like, okay, right? So I started freelancing. That was my beginning of freelancing. And looking back, this was 2009, and I was looking back at just 2007 when somebody was offering me 5 million naira to start a business, register a company, and I just couldn't, comprehend me being a CEO. I thought it was people that had plenty millions, or you had to be of a certain age. I don't know. I just didn't see myself that I could start a company. But this was me 2 years later, freelancing, marketing my business, meeting people and telling them I'm a good editor, I'm a good publisher. And my first marketing was my word of mouth. Guys, no matter what you're doing as business, you don't make a mistake with word of mouth marketing. It is the most convertible piece of marketing, because this is face to face, because this is person to person. There is no better way. It is only limiting because it's limited to only people who you're meeting. But please don't roll it out entirely. Don't be the kind of business owner who has like a lot to say, but don't say it and just keep living and keep hoping that people will patronize you. A closed mouth, they say, is a closed destiny. I started marketing all out. I will go through, oh my God. Guys, okay, so this is Nigeria, and this happens once in a while, but we're not going to stop. We'll continue, and this light hopefully will come in, usually in 2-3 minutes it should be back. So I started marketing for my boss, working for my boss, and then marketing for my own business. And then that same year, I decided that, thank you, baby. That same year, I decided that I was going to learn. Okay, a friend of mine told me, remember I said I was, okay, I didn't tell you this. 2 people proposed to me and I accepted one, the one I had never met. I'm giving you this in addition to my business terrain so that you understand my personality and how it plays out. So we are all different, and the way we approach things in life are different. And our personality always is like a signature in our businesses, right? So my kind of person will help you to understand why I take the decisions I take and how my business is the way it is. Now, I accepted to marry someone I had never met. We had been talking for a long time. We met once years before in a conference, like I said. So that person finally had to move to Abuja, to stay with his cousins. And then we started a relationship, what they call it, platonic. It was cool. I mean, he was a pastor's son as well. Did I mention I'm a pastor daughter? Please get that. I'm a pastor daughter as well. So it was like, oh my God, somebody that finally gets me, who is my value system and all that. So he was the one that told me one time, I was saying, oh, I need a website. I wish I have a website to write about my business, so that people who I talk to, I can refer them to my website and all that, make it more official. And he's like, why not start a blog? And I was like, blog, what's that? I had never heard about a blog before that time in 2009. And he was like, oh, a blog is like a website. The only difference is that I can teach you how to do it. It's easy. You don't need to do coding. I was like, tell me more. And I didn't have a laptop at that time. I remember borrowing a laptop from a friend of mine who was in the media, who I also met because I was looking for a job, but they didn't take me in the job, and he became my friend. So I called him up and I said, I need a laptop. I need to borrow your laptop. And he gave me. So this other friend taught me or helped me design my first blog. It was logosandaudibles.blogspot.com. I can never forget. You know why that blog is very special to me? That was the blog that got me my first international clients. Yes. 2009. So I learned blogging and I became berserk with blogging. I was like, oh my God, you mean there's something like this? You mean there's a platform like this and I never knew? And for me, everything, writing, creativity and all that was just part of me. I studied English. I've been doing this, I've been editing, and so I just quickly sat down one day, organized my blog into like a website, wrote our services, our cost, how much, how our procedure goes, and who are the we? I and my boyfriend at that time, right? So I started marketing my company, word of mouth. I would refer people to my blog. Then I started writing more on the blog. So I had this standalone page where you see our services, but I started writing more on the blog about, everything editing. And I was learning with Google. I used to call Google my bestie. But, AI has come and taken over. I don't know. Google is still my bestie, don't get me wrong, but AI is trying to take the place. Google was like my best friend because at that time, I didn't have any Nigerian company I knew who was offering editing and proofreading services. So I didn't have like a company to mimic, to look at. I was just Googling and I'll see the fees that other people charge in the US, in the UK, and other places to edit, to proofread. And I felt, oh my God, that was outrageous. That is outrageous. And then I'll benchmark and I use maybe 5% of what their fees are and structured my business. So I started learning how to structure my business per page, per word, and turnaround time and all that. I learned all of them online. So if you're somebody who's listening to me and you haven't taken advantage of online space, this is the year you should start. Remember, this 30 days story series is to help you. It's my new year gift to you. It is me trying to wake you up from certain areas of your life that maybe you have been needing help and you have been craving this voice to hear what I'm saying. Okay, and yes, please come into the stream, like this video, and please subscribe while you're settling in as you're listening. Okay, so I started my blog and all that. That became my online platform while I was still doing my word of mouth marketing. Now I had to grapple with homelessness again, just 9 months down the line after getting the house. Why? Finally, the federal government had to come in to demolish that area because they were ready to build a flyover. And in fact, that place is a mighty, you would never believe that anybody lived there before. And I also had my first ever, the scariest incident I've had in my life as long as I'm concerned, because I had armed robbery attack in that place and one of our neighbors was shot dead in the pool of his blood. Like we had to rush him to the hospital and he didn't make it. A Liberian guy. Thinking about it now, it was traumatic for me for years. That was also my first time living independently and experiencing robbery, guys. Now, and I remember that when that happened, I refused to sleep in that house again. I'll come home, take my stuff, I and my cousin, and we'll go to my boss's house because it was close by to sleep. The next morning, we'll go back early, have our bath, and go to work. It was such a stressful couple of months. Then what happened will shock you further. The house was demolished. I was coming back from work one Thursday evening when some of my neighbors said, oh, have you heard what happened? They came to announce that everybody should move out, that this place is going to be demolished on Saturday, which is 48 hours after. I was like, no, they can't be that cruel. Like, where? How are we supposed to move our things in just, and they were like, that's how they do. I remember going to my landlord and say, Oga, so our rent is not due now. It did not finish. So you need to give us balance. The man said, me too, that I'm talking to you. Do I know where to go with my family? I was like, I have come to Abuja. I really came. I came and I saw. Oh my God. So remember at this time, I was left with, running my company by myself now. I had left my friends' gift packaging company. I was now freelancing. I was also doing a bit of gift packaging on my own because I used to make beads, necklace and earrings. I learned them from Utibe back in 2006. So at that time, I now started making them to augment my income. So I would sell beads. I used to feed and all that. So I and my cousin will contribute. Then I started making the beads. Then I'll go to Wuse Market and buy fabric, like Ankara fabric, to pair it. If the color of the bead is purple, I'll look for a fabric that has purple, in that same designs, and I package it. And I was marketing it to my neighbors. They were mostly male. I think I was the only lady living in our compound. I was marketing to the males to gift their girlfriends or their moms, right? So I was doing that on my own, which is an experience I had from working in the gift company, while I was also marketing my editing and proofreading. Well, so you see how I started learning business. I remember one of my neighbors then was a music producer, right? Sampro, shout out to you if you ever watch this video. Sampro was a music producer. He was working with the big shots. He was the reason I even learned or rather understood the business of music, right, at that time. I don't know if you can keep it here, right? So and that was what was going. And then I landed my first client, who was the PhD holder, who was writing 3 books, and one of them was a drama of over 60,000 words. And she asked me, "How much do you charge?" And at that time, I had fixed my price for about, I think, 15 naira a page, but I couldn't tell her. I was too cold feet, too scared of money. I couldn't mention my fee. She was like, "Tell me how much you charge," and I couldn't. I told her, "Pay me anything." I told her after how many weeks of dodging her, and I was doing the work. Oh, I borrowed laptop from a friend to do this work. And I couldn't name my fee. And finally, I was done with the work within a week, and I gave her a week for 60,000 words, which is not something I can do right now, right? But I didn't know how to, how to place the duration of a work done with, the kind of genre of work I'm working at and the fee. I just wasn't confident with naming my price. And yeah, so these are lessons that sometimes we learn. And at that time, when I got done with the job, she paid me 21,000 naira. That work, let me calculate something. That work, if it was now, but of course, prices have changed, right? But let me just calculate. Let me use my calculator to just calculate how much that work would have been cost. I would have charged for that work now. So 60,000 words divided by 300 is 200 pages. So 200 times, say 3,000, or let me say 2,000. Let me say 2-level work. Let me say 2,000. Yeah, that work would have been 400,000 naira now in the list. But that time, it was 50 naira a page, but I still even couldn't tell. I couldn't even mouth it. So she paid me my first 21,000 naira. The first time somebody ever paid me independently as a freelancer. And I went like, oh my God, like this is possible. Somebody paid me to do this thing I've been doing for my mates in university and everywhere. And I couldn't hold myself. That work felt like 21,000, like 21 million, literally. I was so happy. Guys, I was so happy. Have you ever been there? Let me know in the comment section. Have you ever been in a place where you finally traded your skill for money, and then when they paid, how did you feel? I mean, I hear this all the time from maybe footballers who say they've been playing football all their lives, but when they are signing to a club and they are paid weekly and they're like, oh my God, all this money for just playing. That's how it felt. I felt like I was just playing. Despite the hassles I went to borrow laptop and all that, I didn't even figure all of that out. And that was the beginning of my making money ever. And I would also say, apart from the employment I had when I was in Aba and all the other places, that was the first time I was getting paid for something that is me. Now you can tell why I'm very passionate about doing the work you love and making money by being who you are. I'm very, very serious about it. See, making money from who you are is the sweetest money ever. Trust me, it's the sweetest money ever. It's the sweetest income you ever make. That something that you've been doing for free, something you do for fun, as leisure, as as passion. Then it begins to pay you. See, if you're not there yet, I implore you, I will hold your hands if you want me to take you there. We can go through my content money training where I can take you step by step and teach you how to make money from exactly this thing that you do for free. This same thing that you find it difficult to name a price for because you feel like a fraud, like this thing is easy for me now. Why should I charge this person? That same thing can be your million. In fact, I believe from the depth of my heart that God gave all of us a simple skill that we can deploy easily, even though other people find it very difficult. But that is our $1 million skill that He wants us to use to prosper, so that we are not diverted by different things, and we can have a singular vision and work that thing, make the money to live here, and we have time to serve Him. But sometimes we are always thrown about, banking, like someone like me that don't have any passion for calculation. I'll start getting a bank job because I just want to make money and get salary at the end of the day. Then at the end of the day, I'm not in my element. I'm not happy. I don't even have time to go to church and to all that. That is misalignment. See, since I began this journey, I have never one day regretted and said, maybe I should have done this and I've done that. Even if I decide to look for a 9-to-5 job, which is another topic I'm going to treat, I will not do something that is not in my skill set. I can't go to a media company or rather to a company to do accounting, to do, anything that is outside my skill set, right? And if you're somebody you're wondering and you're unhappy with a job, I give you the permission to trust yourself enough to find and hone your skills and get out and do what you're supposed to do. Okay, which is part of why I'm doing these videos. Okay, now this time when our house was demolished, I didn't have any place to stay. I had friends who came to help me pack my things back to my boss's place again. Now, and I just left with essentials, clothes, and all that. I and my cousin, remember, and we had to go. I started making phone calls frantically, called people, called some relatives I had never been in touch with really, but I knew they were in town. Everybody turned me down. Everybody turned me down. It was drizzling that morning. My things were with me. Even when we got to where we were going, my boss's place, there was no place to keep them, extra things. We were in the rain. And then it hit me. My friend called and said, that was my boyfriend at the time, called and said, okay, maybe I should talk to my cousin. He could take care of you people. Take you guys in. Remember, he himself was living with the cousins. And I was like, oh my God, that would be too much to take two young ladies into your home. And this family was a young family. They had 3 children. They had a help, husband and wife. And it was a 2-bedroom. Yeah, that was a 2-bedroom flat. Anyway, I didn't know all of that until we got there. And this family took us in. I can never forget the Chinwenses. And as in thinking about it, I'm like, oh my gosh, that was so kind. That is so amazing. And today I still have those relationships intact, and I'm grateful for that. And so he called them up and he took us in. We lived with this couple for 6 months. My cousin was going to work from there. I was still freelancing, going to my former boss's office, helping out. I finally got a job in a company. That was a media company, but something happened and I left after 3 days. Ask me what happened. Ask me what happened. If you don't ask me, I'm not gonna tell you. Ask me what happened, I'm gonna answer. I left after 3 days. Some scary stuff happened. Anyway, so I decided the next year. Okay, after staying with this couple for 6 months, my cousin now found an apartment in town. The very first time I was ever going to live in town. Where I got this house that was demolished was in Airport Road in Lube area. Not Lube exactly, but in Lube area. Where I went to live with my boyfriend's cousins was also outskirts, was in Nyanya. And Nyanya is the boundary district before Nasarawa State. And my cousin finally paid for an apartment from her job and all that in Buse Zone 6. They looked like, oh my God. And I remember all of those years between 2008, 2007 till that point, 2010. My prayer was always like, God, I want to be able to live in town. I want to be able to live in Abuja town, like in a place I can work out, I can do exercise, I can, that was my prayer. And it finally happened through my cousin at that time. She paid for everything. I didn't have any dime because even the job I got, I ran off afterwards. I kept freelancing, Now, in 2010, while I was still living with my cousin and we were all together, my cousin was to get married and I was left alone. But next thing happened, I decided to register my company formally as a company so that I moved from, freelancer to business owner in a small way. I paid 100% for this company, but I registered it as a partnership between I and my boyfriend. Another story for another day. Don't do that. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't try it. Don't. Did you hear me? Did you hear me doing this? My experience was, I was happy. I remember when I went to register this company, for the first time, I was excited that I studied English and literature. See what happened. When I went to the headquarters of the Corporate Affairs Commission in Abuja. I remember Mr. Paul, he was one that registered my company. And I told him the kind of company I wanted to register and all that. He helped me out, and then he said, we really don't have on our what they call that now, like where you go to select companies, we don't have a company registration, a category now for publishing and editing. For editing and proofreading, rather. We have for publishing. I said, oh, so for you to see how small-minded I was like, no, publishing is such a big thing. I'm not sure I want to run a publishing company. I don't have any skills. I don't know how to get people to make books and all that. And he's like, But this is what you're doing. You are in the value chain of publishing. So you can as well you can grow into it. And I said, no, sir. I was like, but we don't have that on the CAC category. You can only be published by publishing, or rather be registered as a publishing company. And even for you to do that, for this thing you do, is a specialized area. We can't even register you if we don't see your certification to show that you're somebody who is in linguistics or language or have some sort of understanding of language. And for the first time, guys, I was like, yes, this is my time to shine. This is my time to shine, because I'm like, this is the first time my degree had to come to the fore. And it's not that I'm going to apply for a teaching job like my father was afraid of. It was not that I wanted to do something corporate, and the corporate affairs commission is asking to see whether I was qualified to provide proofreading services for people. They needed to see my certificate. I said, hold on there. Thank you so much. It's back. Yes. And I was like, hold my cup, Oga. I'm coming back tomorrow with my certificate. And I went home so happy. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to show them my degree certificate. And for the first time in my life, I was so proud of the moment I remained resolute to study English and persuaded my dad to allow me to do it. So the next day I came with my certificates. They registered the company, and I turned my eye away from that whole publishing. I just focused on providing only proofreading and editing. I remember that I would go door to door, organization by organization in Garikitu in Abuja, if you're familiar with the place, and tell bankers, every company I meet, that I was providing proofreading services and all that. I was also marketing my gift packaging and delivery alongside. So this 2010, after I had registered that company, I also registered another one. It was an event marketing and gift packaging company. So I registered 2 companies in 2010 with the money that I had made. One of it was a limited liability company, and one was a sole proprietorship. And I made them partnerships and put my boyfriend's name as 50-50 shares. Don't do it. Okay, so it took like 2 of us, we could own the company, right? From that place, I then started. I went to what they call this place now. I got an office, a makeshift office. Not that I got, but I met somebody who was like a big man in Abuja, and he offered me to use his law firm to run my company and all that, so I could give it a more corporate face. He loved what I was doing. I helped him proofread a couple of legal documents, constitutions, some of those things, or rather his case files and all that. And he gave me his office, gave me access to his secretary, his computer, his laptop, his printer, So I'll go there. So I had an office in upscale Maitama in Abuja. Maitama was one of those places that we hardly go to. And when we do, I always used to pray and say, God, when will I have money enough to live in this part of town, right? And at that time, it happened. I had an office I wasn't paying a dime for, and I had my clients come meet me there. Most of them didn't even come, but I remember some lady who I worked with. I remember walking out of that office for her own particular job, and but I had to also leave that office, after a few months, because again, I had issues with morality, people liking you. Is enough when people want to give you a favor, but some people don't understand the boundary between doing a favor, a real favor, and not asking for anything in return. So this man was the first person who told me to my face. I mean, I have forgiven him long time. He knows, right? So he told me to my face that he made me an offer, right? Be my mistress. I give you a car and a driver, and you live in an apartment in Maitama, close to this office where you can always use. Go with me everywhere, travel everywhere with me like my mistress. I pay you some what do you call that? Like some allowances, yes, and all that. Just be my girl. It looked like a good offer again, right? But I was like, no. I was telling God, I have come before you again. This is a good offer, but no, because of you, I won't take it. So the man told me to my face. I remember that day. He told me to my face that, oh, I actually thought you were a smart guy, a smart lady. But obviously, the poverty in your brain and whatever is not allowing you to think straight. How could I have made you such an offer that other women are looking for? and you're telling me no, you want to go back to your to bathing your well water and your what they call it, earth warm water than taking the offer I'm giving you. I'm like, okay, sir, I'll probably do that. No problem. Thank you very much. But let me tell you what happened. Which is why I'm driving the point that I didn't know I had this amount of resilience, this amount of value system packed. I didn't know I had this kind of nothing, no shaking. I went back, and early the next morning at home, this man calls me fidgeting on the phone, saying, I'm so sorry. You know, it felt like somebody had pursued him or somebody had threatened him, like he was like he was on a gunpoint, like, because he was sounding very, very, like helpless, very, very anxious. So please forgive me. And that was around 6 a.m. I can't forget, around 6, few minutes past 6 the next day, after I had said no to him. He said, please forgive me for what I said. I remember what he said exactly. He said, I thought you were a smart girl. You're going to go back to bathing your well water, and you end up leaving this town with just your waterproof. And I said, no problem, sir. So he came back that morning to say, oh, I'm so sorry for what I said. I'm not God. I shouldn't have said that. I'm not God at all. Like, it felt like God was beating him. I don't know what it is till today. Like, I sit up with him today, but I can't even begin to ask him what really happened to you then, whether he will even remember. I still remember. I kept saying, I'm so sorry. Please forgive that I said those things. I shouldn't have said it. Blah, blah, blah. I said, no problem, sir. I'm fine. That's fine. And we closed it at that. But that was how I stopped going to the Mitama office and continued with my freelancing. Now, my cousin got married that same year, moved. I had to look for a place to stay. Again, I had to lose property. Did I mention the first time that when I was leaving that place that was demolished, I went with only of my clothes. I left some of the things I had already bought, like cooker, bed, all those things. I couldn't carry them because I didn't have the help or money to like rent proper vans to carry them. So I left them. They got demolished with the property. I went with only my clothes. This time around again, my cousin was to leave town to get married. I had to leave Woodstead Zone 6 to another place to hang with somebody again, and I lost many things, wardrobe, different things, bed again. Guys, I was still resolute that I was going to build my business, but I wasn't closed out that I wouldn't get a job, right? So right after that, in 2011, I got a job with a leadership company, a non-profit as well. I started working there. Everything was looking rosy. Again, that company didn't have like a physical office. It was run from the owner's house. So you see what I mean? I was looking for money when I came to this town, right? I took this leap. I wanted to come to this big city to find my dream, to find where I fit. But I got this, culture of business shock over and over again. I met people who were, in my brain, they were doing well. But things like getting an office were not the first priority for running their business. Are you getting me? And I was like, this is different. And this was not something I thought, but I was willing to learn. We were resuming, we were 3 working for the man. We resumed for work and all of that. And it was it's going to be something that changed, again, the course of my life in business, right? I learned how to run a small business from home, from that experience. I learned how to package yourself. I learned how to create products from working there. There was something I left out. Just after I left initially, I started going to church. I started going to church in 2009. I went through all of the membership and all that certification. And this church I joined was also part of the reasons why I was making the choices I was making. This church was helping me learn excellence, caring for people. And I was learning that side by side with working there. So I started in this company in 2011. A friend of mine who I also met in the line of work took me in. I started squatting with her. So my journey has been a journey of meeting total strangers who turned out to become family, right? And then she took me in, Trisha, God bless her. She took me in and encouraged me that I should not give up. And giving up I did not. So I started working in this company, coming from her house. Okay, I had lost properties and all that, and I didn't mind. I moved on with the little load I could take, things that were important, my certificates, my clothes, basically, and my shoes. And I moved into her house and was working for this other company. I worked in this company till about September, and I won through her also, through this lady who took me in. She told me about a grant, a study grant for entrepreneurship that the president at that time was giving small business owners. And since I had registered my company a year before, she said, you can apply. You could get a grant to go study. And that was for Pan-Atlantic University, Lagos Business School. And the name of the company, the name of the program was Growing Enterprise Leaders. And the name of the certification was Certification in Entrepreneurship Management. So I applied alongside her, but look at what happened. She wasn't chosen. She used to run an IT company, an IT education company, like an edtech company now, but she wasn't chosen. But my company was chosen. The day we went together to go check out our name, and I saw that I won the grant, I was in tears. I was like, why didn't they take you, Trisha? I felt so bad. I was like, how can somebody see an opportunity, apply for it, and then tell me about it, and I'll be the one chosen and she's not chosen? You know, I felt like if they gave me that certificate business course was an 850,000 naira grant. I felt like if they gave me the money, I could have shared it in half. I would have. But no, it was to study, and it was a 30 days program within 3 months. And that was one of the most revolutionary part of my life so far. That was the business school I ever did as a business owner. I went through the school. We learned everything about business operations, HR, keeping books, accounting, everything that would make a business succeed was what that business was about. And it was bougie, it was luxury. We had meals, I met professionals. I met most of the people I know today who are like top scale business owners in Nigeria. The access I had, from them first was from that program. Like the owner of Studio 24, the owner of plenty people, even the owner, the MD of Ibom-led, their leadership and something now. I met them all through that program and all that. I became an alumni of that business, or rather of that organization, by December of 2011. We had to go to Lagos, Pan-Atlantic University campus to graduate, and that marked a turning point for me as well. I knew that somehow God was in the picture. God was just, doing me hide and seek and just giving me the go ahead, I'm with you. And I could feel it all around my journey. Right? We've passed the 1 hour mark. Oh my gosh. If you've not liked this video, you are not doing me so good. Please like this video and please subscribe to the channel. Okay. Now, but things got to a head because when I had to go to this business school, because it was an everyday thing, almost every day, I had to quit the job I was doing. My boss at that time was not very happy, but I told him I needed this self-development to be able to run my business as well, which he was aware of. So I stopped the job. By the time I was done with graduation and everything in December of 2011, by early 2012, it was obvious that I can't continue staying with this lady and not being able to contribute anything much. I, for the first time, made up my mind to go back home. Yes. I made up my mind to go back home for the first time, December of 2011, after my graduation, and I thought, let me just go home and clear my head. I'm tired of all of this squatting, all of these things. And I was so much, I remember going back to read all my scripts from the university, from the business school. I was so excited. I was structuring my business on my mind in paper, but I was like, where am I going to start? I don't even have like a home. If I had like a place, I could say, let me start from here and all that. I bought a laptop at that time as well. I started my business online. My blog started picking up. I remember that was a year I went to interview a few authors for my blog. My blog was focused on editing, proofreading, publishing, authorship, and all that. And it went so well. And I remember going to interview somebody one day with my friend, who again was somebody who took me in at a point, and I was living with them. And I went with a recorder to record, the interview. And at the end of the day, we went back home to discover that recording wasn't good. I mean, we didn't capture it or something. So we didn't have the interview. Oh my God. And that man was one of the big entrepreneurs that I knew from my church. And I felt so bad, like I had failed. To get an appointment for him again was a problem, and that was how that went. But I was still doing my blogging. My blogging was not paying me much until I landed an international client that year. And we got done with the work and all that, and I went back home. My parents were happy to receive me. They asked me what was my next plans and all that. And I told them I just came to rest. I'll figure out something. I didn't tell them I was coming back permanently, but only in my head did I know that in my head, I'm like, I'm done. I'm done with, hustling, living from place to place. Then just a week after, my boss, my immediate former boss, just called me and said, "Oh, there's an offer. I recommended you for a job somewhere. Call this person, do this, do that. You have to be in Abuja." I said, "I'm not in Abuja, sir. I'm back in Aba." He's like, "No, you can't be in Aba. You can't." Like, no, Jenny. How do you want to be in Aba? Like, how? You have to come back to Abuja. No matter what's happening, if you're looking for another job, it's in Abuja. You find it. You can't go back to Aba. It's not possible. You're brilliant. You do this. You bring so much to the team." I said, "Sir, I don't want to transfer money to start coming back to Abuja." Because he was telling me the person wanted to see me the next Tuesday, which was like 3 days afterwards. And I said, "I can't come." He said, "Don't worry, I'll send you transfer money. Just make up your mind to come." So I left town and went back to Abuja. I got to Abuja. I went to stay with that my friend also, who was the one that took me in last. Yes, African Tales and Beats. Thank you. I'm going to answer all this. I'm sorry. I'm going to answer all these questions. Please just hold on for me. I'm going to answer all your questions. I can see them. Okay, so by that 2012, this was early 2012. I went to meet the lady, had the interview. Pardon me again. I had the interview, and I was selected for the job. I negotiated my pay and all that. Now, again, I couldn't really price myself again. I was thinking, okay, I got a good deal, but I found out that I shortchanged myself in that sense. But I started that job. I was happy. It was the first job that was going to give me international exposure to travel out of Nigeria and all of that. I was made the director of operations, and it involved me handling everything operations for a multinational non-profit as well, that I was directly in charge of over 300 staff, plus the headquarters staff. We had staff in over about six states, and under them we had over about 15,000 people that were taking charge of. And I was in charge of all the operations for this organization. I brought my A game. Thankfully, I still have my certification for being the best staff of the year that year in 2012. It was a job that gave me the first facelift ever. That was a job that gave me accommodation, that made me finally leave squatting, and gave me an accommodation in a hotel in Wuse too. I lived in a hotel for more than a whole year. Yes, I was so excited. And then I also had a car attached to me, not just any car. That was the first time I drove a Mercedes-Benz as my car. Like, hey guys. And that was also the year I took my business seriously, because I was earning now. I was investing back in my business. I had 2 staff working for me. One of them even used to resume in my office at that time, in this my paid office. I've done some very things, guys. And then one of them was a marketer, Charles. Charles would go market, come back, give me reports. Lovely young people, right? And because my office was so big, my office is bigger than my home space right now, like by far. It was luxuriously decorated, had everything. I mean, I'm grateful to my former boss who recommended me for that job today. And then I worked with somebody who was super intelligent, a lady who was younger than I was, or younger than I am, and super intelligent. I don't mean just intelligent, super intelligent. I'm talking about somebody who in her 20s was handling over 100,000 naira over and over projects. At that age, she had companies, over 6 of them doing well. She had amazing. She came from an affluent home and everything. And I learned so much again, being close to that family, learning on the job. I learned so much about how rich people think. I learned so much about how to sell premium and how to get the psychology of what premium people actually need beyond the service and the product. And that's why today, when I talk about selling premium, people say, oh, they don't really get it. And I get it. I had to be immersed in super wealth for me to understand, different from what I was used to, for me to understand certain things, the psychology of the average Uber rich, right? I mean the Uber rich where you're their friend and you go on convoys. I don't mean rich of, okay, we are doing well and we know how much we have. That's not the kind of wealth I mean. My boss was super rich, super rich home, right? Because I don't want to drop names, that's why I'm not mentioning them. But again, if you ask me why not, I'll tell you. Anyway, so I worked on that job. Yes, and I said my company also started getting some key clients. We did a lot of, from between that time, at that time we had published a lot of people, first time authors. We had done, by that time I had edited over hundreds and hundreds of books. I had 3 jobs at this time. I was working there as a director of operations full time. I was working my blog full time. I was also working in Logos Audibles in my editing and proofreading company. 3 jobs. I remember that when I close from work, I'll go sit down, look at the script I have to work through. I had some people I used to partner with at that time, and then work together, deliver the jobs. And it was at that time also that I met a client who we published his book, excuse me, and he was gracious enough to tell me that we need to have a meeting after about 9 months, because he came in as somebody who needed editing and proofreading. But much after, he was like, okay, can we design the book for him? Can we get to print it? Again, my business moved into publishing by force, from clients yearning for what clients were asking me. So I had to go do market research, find the best printers. Hopefully, or rather, thankfully, my former boss, remember, my very first boss was into publishing a magazine at that time. So I knew quite some printers. I had to go have a meeting, cut deals with them to publish for my clients. Now, I hope that it's giving you an idea of how I came about the value chain that finally became publishing as a whole. And then when I went back or rather, when I went to meet this client, he sat me down and said, babe, you charge me too low. That was the first time in my life somebody was coming to me openly, vulnerably, to tell me that your services are so good, you're not charging well for it. A client. So I sat down through what was like a mastermind, and he taught me how to price my services, how to keep some services as premium, and if nobody pays for it, it's fine, because I want to, especially if I want to do away with them. Taught me so much. Thank you, Ebuka. Ebuka Nechebe was my lifesaver. So he became a client who then turned into my friend, who became my company or my business consultant. It was all around this time, 2013, 2014, right? Then 2013, I started training people on blogging, because I felt like, having been blogging from 2009 till that time, 2013, 2012, I started training people in blogging, but officially in 2013. And by December of 2013, I decided to do a bloggers party. I remember that the hotel we used was also all expense paid. The company I was working at that time, I had a partnership with them, and they hosted us, and it was amazing. It was amazing. What I did was just to create a community around the people I have met who were bloggers as well in Abuja, and we had a party. That was the first edition in 2013. Okay, but I had left that same job by early 2014, but I had such a strong bloggers community at this time. Then by 2015, the boss who recommended me to another place I just left re-employed me. The one I worked with from 2011 re-employed me by 2015. Looking back, I'm just grateful. Like, it's been a journey, right? It's been grace. All I can see is that favor. I had never had to ask for jobs or apply for jobs that wait to be called. Most of the jobs I did came by recommendation directly. Yeah, I'm so grateful about that. And these jobs were all jobs that afforded me the opportunity to just be me, to multitask. I was doing so much, I knew, but I was happy because I was doing everything to make sure my business doesn't die, and to make sure that my blog was also running. So I kept holding on I kept holding down 3 jobs this period of my life. Okay. So I started this new job by January 5th, thereabout, as corporate communication head. I know that the appointment came as head corporate communication, brand management, and media relations. Yeah, the biggest portfolio I've ever held. It was amazing because, guys, I had media people, I had videographers, graphic designers, writers, presenters under my immediate sub office, and we did magic. We worked magic, guys, for that brand. We did. Oh my God. Ah, I learned. And all this while, I was still running my company and I was still working on my blog. In fact, my blog opened doors for me that people just knowing that, okay, she's the owner of this blog, got me a lot of favors, right? So I started getting influencer marketing jobs, influencer marketing contracts. And, and then continue with my blogging training. By 2014, also, I had another bloggers party. We got sponsorship from a brand, and it was amazing. So our bloggers community was increasing, both those who I trained directly and those who were already blogging. And we come into end of the year and we'll have those parties. And and then this job, by ending of 2017, during one of my bloggers party as well, my boss was also in attendance. I told him that I think I want to finally get into doing my business full time. I had tried holding down 3 jobs at the same time, and that I thought it was time to back off. Let me tell you what happened 2 years before 2017, 2015. While I was still working in that organization, I had a major health scare. Yes, I had a health scare that taught me the importance of working or taking it easy. Let me put it like that. I woke up one morning and I couldn't feel the right part of my body. It felt like all my right side of my body was dried up. So that was a near paralysis. I went to see a doctor, and the doctor asked me everything about my job and all that. I said no, I was killing myself in installments, because what is that? How will you go to a 9 to 5, come back and sit down and edit, work on your blog? How? One person. He started yapping me about how I should get a boyfriend, I should get a distraction, I get to get something that will make me dance, go out. And I discovered for the first time that I was playing with my health. That it didn't end as simple as it sounds, because that took me to rounds and rounds of seeing specialists, neurosurgeon, ENT doctors. I saw all of them, all of that, because they were trying to trace why I was having that experience. With it as well, I was having a vitiligo, experience, and they were trying to trace exactly what. I went through a lot, spent a lot of money. This was between 2016, 17. I was selling it. So 2 years of medical, I had to slow down. So by 2017, I told my boss, I think I want to quit finally. Like, I want to quit 9 to 5 entirely. I have another video where I'm going to make why I quit 9 to 5 entirely. And all of that will come in another episode. Okay, so that year, 2017, when I left, in 2018, I registered another company with another boyfriend who I was dating at that time. That my former relationship ended after 3.5 years. We went our different ways. And I was dating somebody else who was also a church boy, who was also a pastor's son, But I registered another company in 2018. And please don't do that. And this company was my third company at this point. So I began entrepreneurship fully. And in that year as well, I sold my second company. Remember, I registered 2 companies in the beginning. The second one, I wasn't really using it at a point. Somebody came to buy it. Somebody from within my circle of friends decided to buy it off because he wanted to use it to do a business, and they needed a company that was that old and all that. So I had the first experience of selling my company off in 2018. But before I sold it off, I had to go find my former boyfriend, who was now married and all that, for him to sign off on some of the papers and give up the ownership for this company. Even though this company was not really making any profit all of these years, and our relationship was done and all that, I had to still go through that round. See why I said you shouldn't do it? I'll tell you more about this later. And even for the first company I was running, I had to get him to sign off after a running battle years before. Okay. At this point, I had over 500 authors under my belt, edited, proofreading, published autobiographies. I had done memoirs, self-help books. I had teams in different places, virtual teams, physical teams. I also have expanded my team. I began to train bloggers at this point in 2018. Now, graciously, my immediate boss, who I just left the last time, graciously offered me a very luxury apartment for free in Maitama. One of those places that I used to pass when that other guy who gave me an office was asking me to come and take and be his mistress. Just in that neighborhood, the classiest part of Maitama was where I got a 1-bedroom apartment with a living room that I converted into my office. And that was where I started my first YouTube channel as well. Yes, that was where I started my first YouTube channel. And I was having a ball. I was having the time of my life. Everything I've realized that anything I learned, I taught other people, and I created a community around it, and I used them to get them more business so that we can prosper. I've always been that person. So I was understanding who I was in all of this process. And I had gone into making a lot of millions, and from influencing for social media. I had worked with a lot of organizations at this point. I also became a very known social media influencer in Abuja. Like, there was no job that I and my team were not invited to do live blogging, to do tweets, to do social media influencing. We work with UN, with the government, with different organizations at this point. By 2018 was like the high point of my social media influencing job. And I drafted that into part of my company offerings, right? And we have made several millions. I've gotten more editors, writers, designers, website designers, printers, illustrators on board to work with me. And yes, that was my journey when it comes to this. Is it in a row. And in 2024, just last year, we again transited to publishing 360, right? So today we work with professionals, executives who are time constrained, but who have a whole lot to tell, to put in books and online courses. We work with them directly to bet their intellectual property and give them their legacy, document their legacy, and help them to expand their offerings and their profits. And that's what we do right now. And if you're listening to me, and you're one of the people that are saying, okay, I want to work with your company, remember I said I'll pin our email address in the comment section, the first comment in the comment section, and I'm going to pin it. Please, you can contact us and be part of our Publishing 360 services. Yes, we can work with you, get your books done and published and marketed, because we have all it takes. This has been 15 years. So you can see how I worked this company from 2009, registered in 2010, left paid in employment in 2017. So kind of 9 years of operations or so I was doing it side by side with my full-time job. But from 2018 till now, I have done it exclusively, right? So those are the two life cycles of this business, and it has been amazing. So I'm going to answer questions now. Remember to like this video, please subscribe as well and join the family. I discovered that this gave me an experience of a lifetime. This was a 12 years journey. Thank you, African Tales. I discovered who I was outside of my family shadow. Looking back now, running away from home wasn't an act of me being rebellious. It was an act of self-love for me. I realized that running away wasn't about leaving my family behind. It was about running towards the life that I deserved, right? If I hadn't gone through these things, I'm not sure who I will be today. So I'm going to go through the question. If I have any questions here, African Tales, okay, you are just recapping. Okay. This story deserves to be told as a movie. I agree. I agree. Please let us do well to like this video and subscribe to encourage the storyteller. Thank you, African Tales. And please, everybody, go follow African Tales right now. Follow my channel and follow African Tales and Beats. They have amazing stories. In fact, you need to get there to see. Go and follow African Tales right now. Thank you, African Tales. Not a small offer for a desperate girl. Yeah, but man, I wasn't that desperate girl. I was a Jesus girl. All right, you're interested. Okay, please, I'll be leaving the email in the comment section. Please go ahead. If you're interested in the book Publishing 360, please also send us an email and we'll get back to you. If you're interested in learning all about content writing and how to make money from who you are and to do the work you love, also reach out to us in email. Our team is going to reach out to you and get you started in no time. By the way, if you're an editor or you think you have keen eyes for spotting errors in written scripts and you want to make it a business like I started doing, you want to make it a business, freelancing or business ownership, make sure that you also send an email, because yes, we are currently enrolling for the 4th cohort of the Editors Business School. I run the Abitur Business School, and you can also be part of it. So these are 3 offers I'm making you, and if you come through, you are going to have all the reasons to smile at the end of the day. Okay, I'm still going to see if I have questions. Okay, African Tale said, mine, I was asked why I charged $1 million as a single in business. Oh, you were single and you were asking for $1 million, and they ask you why. I can imagine. Business can be good, can be funny. Oh, they ask you why so a single person is not supposed to charge you millions. Oh my gosh, I can imagine. African Tale said, I want to hear. What do you want to hear? I can't even remember. What did I say I wanted to tell you? Please let me know before I go offline. Even if you send it offline, I will drop it in the comments. But if you can, ask me now so I remember. No bad offer, amazing. Thank God it got better. African Tales all the way. You have really gone through a lot. Yes, though, I have. I like your courage. Thank you. Nelson Dias. I remember Nelson. Oh my God. Nelson from India, right? Hi, ma'am. It's great to see you again live. Thank you so much, Nelson. I have been talking for the last an hour, 30 minutes thereabouts. You came late. Who came late? Nelson came late, I guess. Nelson can always go back to watch. Okay. Thank you very much. Since I don't have any more questions, I'll be going offline right now. Thank you for joining me on this live and enjoying the second episode of Being Chisom. I'll be right here, same time, tomorrow, in spite of whatever it is. Thank you to African Tales and Beats. Please join me tomorrow and let's have a ball. Tomorrow, I'm going to dig into why. Well, let me look for my topic tomorrow. My topic tomorrow is about why I decided that 9-to-5 job is no longer for me. I'm going to treat that tomorrow, and how I survived as a full-time business owner. I've given you a little bit of tips, but you're going to get shocking things that I actually went through tomorrow. So don't miss tomorrow. Please type in the comment section if you watch at this point. Type in the comment section, Chisom means business. Go ahead and write. Chisom means business. Chisom means business. Write in the comment right now. Chisom means business. Yes, and I'm serious about it. And if you're a YouTuber, like I said, like African Tales and Beats, please let us also know. Let's support each other. I'm going right away to subscribe to African Tales and Beats. Everybody, if you're a content creator, please let us know so we can follow you. Thank you, African Tales. Chisom means business. Yes. So we can watch your video and subscribe. Please watch everybody's video before you subscribe. That way you're giving them much more value. So this is it for this episode tonight from Uyo in Nigeria. It's been amazing being your host and telling you the story of my life in business, and I'm hopeful that this was very impactful for you. Let me know what jumped out at you, what it is that you want to dare right now, and I'll see you again same time tomorrow. Drop your comments. Remember, I will always answer, even if we go offline. I'll always answer. And please, anything you want to say. Okay, Nelson said, I heard about hiring. I do music production, mixing, mastering, songwriting, Photoshop, now learning Premiere Pro. Awesome. Any suggestions or recommendations? Maybe. Okay. So everyone, Nelson Dias is somebody you need to hire. Yes. Nelson is based in India, right? Nelson is based in India, but I'm sure he can render some of his services even virtually. So anything music production, mixing, mastering, songwriting, please get in touch with Nelson. Any other person here, let's know what you do so that we can support you as well. Thank you, Nelson, for letting us know. Like this video if you haven't liked it already. Subscribe and join the family. I'm going to be checking out how many more subscribers are here who are joining the Chi Money Gang, as we like to call ourselves right here. Okay, now this is the end of the episode 2 of Being Chisom, and this is a 30-day journey where I'm going to be taking you through the story of my business life. And I'm sure today was so impactful. If you ask me, I took time to chronicle the highlights of my journey and how I got to doing business right now, and I hope this was a blessing for you as well. So I'll see you tomorrow. All right. Okay, architect Utibe Akah. All right, I design and build. Yeah, so if you want an architect to design a house for you and to build it for you, architect Utibe Akah is right here in the comment section. Please reach out right now. Reach out and please be a good sport. Right? Tell them that you got to know them from this stream and they're going to give you reception, and probably mention me so that they can give you discount. One-stop shop, yes. So Akah designs and builds houses for people. Make sure that you can reach out to him if you're working on a project or you're thinking about developing your project. Don't miss out on this, okay? See you tomorrow, guys. Good night from Nigeria. Bye.